I have seen the torch of freedom pass from hand to yearning hand, and the vision of our fathers spread hope throughout this land, as the dream some fought and died for in my heart becomes my own. I will strive to keep her promise, America, my home. America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. From the shorelines to the prairies, to the cities great and small, we have reaped the fruits of justice and liberty for all. So
with deep appreciation for the blessings of freedom that we know in this wonderful land of ours, I'm Dr. George Simon, welcoming you to another edition of Character Matters. This is the program where we talk about what I consider to be the defining issue of our time, the character crisis that we face and that affects so many areas of our life, from our family relations to our community relations, to our politics, to our business relations. Every aspect of our life is affected by it. And if you want to join the conversation, the number to call is area code 501-258-8326. That's 501-258-8326. That's the number to call if you want to join the conversation tonight. It's Mother's Day, and I hope that families across the country, I hope that mothers across the country have had a wonderful weekend and are having a wonderful day today, hopefully with family, celebrating Mother's Day. I have some stories that I want to share with you today. And what I invite callers to do is to share some stories of remembrances of their mothers, and especially remembrances of how their experiences with their mothers help shape them as individuals. Mentioned on my blog at manipulative-people.com and drgeorgesimon.com. Either URL will take you to my blog. I mentioned that I would announce at the beginning of the program, which I'm doing right now, Mother's Day, May the 14th, 2017. Mentioned that I would announce whether, in fact, this was a live program versus a pre-recorded program, because I was not sure, not 100% sure, that we would be live today, given the fact that it is Mother's Day. But we are live, and I want to invite any of those who might want to call in or have thought about calling in and who have a story to share about especially their experience growing up and ways in which they know their mother was instrumental in helping shape their character. And I think that would be an ideal way to fashion the program for this special day, Mother's Day. I have some stories to share myself, some stories to share, not only of my mom, but also my adopted moms through life, and also just situations that I'm aware of. Mothers that really performed the heroic task of rearing children. Perhaps there's no greater task on earth than fostering the character development of a child. And that's what mothers do. Yes, it's no doubt about the love, but it's also about the loving guidance and the role modeling that a mother can give that makes all the difference in the life and the welfare of a child. So, you have a story you want to share. The number to call, once again, is 501-258-8326. That's 501-258-8326. You can also give us a Skype call. And if you use Skype, the number to call is George K. Simon. That's GeorgeKSimon. And I'll do my best to patch that through too. I've not done that before, so there might be just a few technical glitches, but I think we can do it the same manner that we're now taking calls to overcome our glitches with phone calling. As you know, for many months, we had problems getting calls through, but we now have figured out what the problem with that is. So I think we found a way around it. It has to do with the various platforms that our computer systems operate on and the mechanism that we use to get on the air. And I think that we have figured out a way around our glitches. So if you want to join the conversation, the number to call is 501-258-8326, or you can try Skype at George K. Simon. That's all one word, GeorgeKSimon. And that'll get you here to Character Matters, I hope. Well, like I said, it is Mother's Day. My wife and I are celebrating Mother's Day with my one older son and his wife and my two grandchildren here at our home this evening. The kids are out, the grandkids are out in the pool in the only 79-degree water. It's not that warm just yet here in central Arkansas where we live. It had been quite warm, actually, until some rain came through a couple of days ago, and along with that, some cooler weather. And now it's warming up again, but right now the air temperature is barely 80 degrees, and so the pool temperature is a comfortable 79. That's not too cold, but it's not for here in our locale where temperatures soar quite typically into the 90s, into the upper 90s during the summer. For here, water temperatures, usually we want them around 84, 85 degrees to feel really comfortable. But it's bearable, and the kids certainly don't seem to mind. And so we're having a good time, and I hope that you are too. I want to share with you one incredible story. This is really an incredible story. It has less to do with my mom as a mom, but it's still nonetheless a pretty incredible story of a pretty remarkable woman. You know, my father always aspired to be a good independent businessman. He had a knack for salesmanship. I like to say he could sell a bridge to an Eskimo, or he could sell, excuse me, he could sell a refrigerator to an Eskimo. And he could sell that Brooklyn Bridge too. But he could truly sell just about anything to anyone. That was his gift. And for many years, he worked for other individuals whom he didn't think recognized sufficiently either his talent or his willingness to give 150% of himself to the task and reward him accordingly. So there came that time when he was determined to go into business for himself. And he was, unfortunately, pressured to leave his education in the 10th grade, and so therefore didn't have the benefit of college. But nonetheless, by the sweat of his brow and with the financial help of some business partners and with the support of several of his family members, he built a very, very successful business, a business that was grossing 40, 50 years ago in the 20s of millions of dollars. And that was back then. That would be a business that by today's standards would be grossing a couple of $100 million easily. And I have to tell you that his successor, person that presently owns this business, is not doing anywhere near that well. This is still a successful business, but it's not that kind of business. But that just gives you an idea. Well, this is really not a story about him. This is a story about his partner, his life partner, who really was the guts and glue, not only of the family. She was really the guts and glue of everything. My dad had several business partners, associates, sales representatives for various companies and whatnot, always stop over the house. They were almost like family. And that's because my mother made it so. Our doors were always open. And she was always the one who accommodated, always the one that had a meal ready, knew what your favorite things were, set the hospitality, always made you feel at home. Really, as far as home goes, Mom, she was what made it home. And so the story I'm going to tell is not really a particular mom story, but it's a character story. And the reason why it's still a mom story is because it is a character story. It sets the model that she set for us and our family. And this story is a story of her modeling a particular value, and that's loyalty, dedication, commitment. You see, my dad's health was always pretty iffy. He didn't treat himself too well because he was pretty much a workaholic and didn't get the balance right between work and fitness and even recreation. But he also was not blessed with good genes. He had some predispositions to some really nasty illnesses. And cardiovascular disease was one of those things. And so it just so happened that my dad had to undergo one of the first triple bypass operations. He and the University of Michigan head coach at the time were the first two together. to have triple bypass operations at the then St. Joseph's Hospital. And things did not go too well after the surgery. There were complications, pulmonary complications. And my dad had to stay in a medically induced coma and on a respirator for a few months, few agonizing months. It was doubtful many times that he would be coming back. It was doubtful that he would recover, that we would see him again. And so every single day, my mom would be there at his bedside all day long. All day long. Waiting for that moment when her husband might come out of that coma and return to her. And it just so happened that at that time in my life, it was a transition period for me. Just so happened that I also happened to be back in the area, and I did not have a family of my own at the time. So on many, many occasions, I accompanied my mom on those daily treks to the hospital. Every day, day after day, week after week. And I know it took a toll. I know it took a toll. There was a time, well, there were actually a few times during the whole ordeal. Times when things seemed to be progressing a little bit, and then there was some hope that soon he would be out of the coma and my dad would be returning to us, and then there'd be a turn for the worse, and then it didn't look so good. And so through those ups and downs, I know there were times where my mom's faith was tested, and she came to the brink of losing hope. And she began the process of mourning what she anticipated might be a loss, a significant loss. But every day she was there. One day, as I was preparing to take her to the hospital early in the morning, as usual, one day she hesitated. And then she made the decision that for the first time in many, 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 many weeks, perhaps she wouldn't go, perhaps she would do some other things that she had long neglected, things around the house, shopping that needed to be done, things that needed tending to. I can't remember what they were, but as you can imagine, when every single day is consumed with a particular activity, you let other things go. And that's the way it was for all these many, many months that my dad was in coma. So this day, I witnessed what I thought was my mom being less than the super mom and super wife that I'd always seen her to be. She set a standard that seemed unreachable, unattainable. A standard of loyalty and commitment that just didn't seem possible for a flawed human being such as myself. So actually, a part of me was rejoicing that day. I thought to myself, And these are the thoughts that I had to myself. I thought to myself, my mom is human after all. She just can't do this anymore. She's got other things in life. She can't be 100% self-sacrificing. Nobody can do that. And it's really good to see. It's really good to see that she is human and not this larger than life figure with these incredible values that I envied and thought I could never measure up to. So in the morning, my mom tends to as many of the things that she needs to do. And she gets all of the most essential ones finished. And then it's barely around 10:30 or 11 o'clock in the morning. And she's done those absolutely essential things. There's plenty else to do. There's even time she could take off for herself. But she can't do it. And she looks at me and she says, I need to go. She was going to get in the car and drive herself. But I took her to the hospital to see the man she loved and to be with him at his side and to pray that it wouldn't be long before he would come out of that coma and be with us again. Well, he did eventually come out of that coma, and it was a long recovery, which put even additional burdens on my mom. Things with the bypass surgery and complications were not like they are today. You know, we do these things routinely today. But as I mentioned, my father's triple bypass and the one that he had within days of the triple bypass that was done on the head coach for the University of Michigan at the time, they were the first two done ever at that hospital in the region, some of the first in the country. So things were not the same then at all. And treating the complications that can arise sometimes. We've advanced there too. So what I witnessed that day and through my dad's long recovery was a model of fidelity and commitment that is seared into my brain and into my heart like none other. I just don't see it at that level anymore in relationships. But my mother, bless her soul, set a model for me. And I can't forget it. I can't forget it. That's what good mothers do. They don't just love you. They don't just guide you. They show you the way. They help you develop character by showing their own. And yes, there were definitely those periods in my life when I did not properly revere what had been modeled for me. And it was to my detriment, too, because I would suffer a great deal. Suffer mainly a lot of self-defeating behavior. because I wasn't embracing sufficiently the wonderful values that were so well modeled for me. But that experience began to turn things around in my life, witnessing the strength and the character of my mother in a way that really sent the message home. Some things really matter. And when it comes to relationships, the power of commitment, steadfast loyalty, genuine positive regard, the power of that. The power of that can transform, can truly transform. In our country today, unfortunately, you hear that song play, the beginning and the end of the program. It's meant to inspire. It's meant to inspire us to look at and positively regard and cherish our most treasured principles, and to also make a statement that it's up to us to embrace and live out those principles and values, because that's what makes the country great. And we will be great again, truly, when we are strong in our communities, and we'll be strong in our communities only when we're strong in our families. And that means fathers and mothers who take the most important role of life, the most important duty, the most important responsibility seriously, and with a steadfastness and a commitment. There's nothing more important. And unfortunately, in our country today, where over half of all marriages fail, where families fall apart, where family dysfunction is far more common than family unity. In our country, unfortunately, as a result of all that, we're experiencing a rate of decline that's unprecedented. And it will only be turned around when we get back to our core values, and they center around family. So, today, on Mother's Day, if you've got a story you want to share about how you remember your mom and how her love and her embrace and modeling of values helped shape your life and your character especially, then give us a call at 501-258-8326. That's 501-258-8326. And also, if you want to try it, if you are not able to make a free call to that number, You can try Skype also at George K. Simon. That's GeorgeKSimon. And I'll be happy to take your call. Well, I mentioned just a little bit ago the song that you hear at the beginning and the end. And this is the time of the year when I talk also about the fact that at this time of the year, I usually start getting requests for people to perform it at various patriotic venues, because Memorial Day is coming up here in a couple of weeks. And that's one of the times when folks like to perform the song better known by its subtitle, America, My Home. The formal title is Anthem for the Millennium. It was written as a new millennium piece back in 1999 by myself and my wife. And it was meant to inspire folks to take seriously their responsibility to live out the core values that we have always preached in this country, not always looked up to, but preached, and live them out so that we can truly be great as a country. And so I invite those of you out there who are vocalists or who are musicians or who just want to see this message carried, mosey on over to YouTube and look at some of the videos. Google America, My Home, or Google Anthem for the Millennium, and you'll come across some of the videos. You can also find some links on my blog at manipulative-people.com and drgeorgesimon.com, and you'll get a chance to hear and then maybe, hopefully, fall in love with the song and its message, and maybe you'll be one of the ones who help carry that message in song at your church or civic organization or your patriotic venue of one type or another. Or maybe you will be one of the folks that arranges for it to be done by someone else at your particular venue. So I always like to hear from folks at this time of the year. I've just heard from someone who wants to perform it in his church, and I'm always happy when I hear that, because that helps carry the message to folks. And once again, the number to call is 501-258-8326. That's 501-258-8326. And Skype name is George K. Simon. That's GeorgeKSimon. Well, traveling again this week, be heading back out to California. It was just a week and a half ago. I was out in California, that time in the San Diego area, in Temecula, in Santa Ana, and in San Diego. Had a wonderful time there. And this time, heading first to San Bernardino, then to Pasadena, and then to Long Beach. So this time in the LA area with all that traffic. Gosh, I can't wait. And all that traffic and all that smog. Just cannot wait. But nonetheless, that's where I'll be heading. San Bernardino is the first venue next Wednesday, an all-day training workshop for professionals. And then Thursday in Pasadena, once again, an all-day training workshop. And then Friday in Long Beach, and once again, an all-day workshop. So, but even though these workshops are primarily geared toward professionals, once again, make sure you know that anyone can attend these workshops. They're presented in such a way that even the lay public can get quite a bit out of them. So don't be intimidated. You might be intimidated by the cost because, once again, unfortunately, these are professional workshops, and therefore they are priced according to the typical price range that professionals expect to pay for continuing education training. But anyone can come to these workshops, and I'm more than happy to see you there. I've had several folks who were either dealing with situations in their life, either with a relationship partner, a spouse, a son or a daughter. Maybe they were dealing with manipulative behavior. Maybe they were dealing with some other kind of character dysfunction that they wanted to understand. And most especially, sometimes folks have come just seeking some help about what it would look like to get the right kind of help. And so you are welcome to come. I see we have a call coming in. I'm going to go ahead and take this call. Hello, and welcome to Character Matters.
Hello, Dr. Simon. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you this Mother's Day?
I'm very well. I had a funny story to share about my mom now that it's Mother's Day, so I just thought I would contribute to the program.
Well, I appreciate that. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, when I was growing up, one of the memories that always kind of brings a kind of smile to my face about my mom is the time when I was growing up and we had a neighborhood kid that was kind of being a little bit of a bully to us. And so the time when I was growing up, it was kind of a little bit war conditions. So the fathers weren't necessarily around. So moms kind of had to take care of a lot of things, right? Like putting the food on the table and among many, many others.
They did it all, didn't they?
They did it absolutely everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, lots of the mothers in the neighborhood, it was obviously, since moms were the instrumental person taking care of the kids, some mothers kind of struggled instructing the boys a little bit better. Just boys had a little bit, sometimes would be a little bit just violent, and I guess sometimes mothers just didn't know how to handle those things.
Right.
And so this one neighborhood kid kept on kind of picking on us, but not really picking, but like he was really kind of hurting us. Like one time he like punched me out, and I literally had like a bloody nose, right? So it was bad, right? So my mom told us, the next time this type of stuff happens, that we come and that we tell her because, she had a principle that no one's going to hurt her kids, right? Mm-hmm. And so, and sure enough, we went to a playground, and there was just a bunch of kids, right? And so these boys, they were just like that, right? They were just kind of just a little bit like picking on everybody and weren't necessarily restrained in terms of their behavior. And so, of course, I don't know, they pushed one of us. I don't even know what happened. And we ran back home and we told Mom, right? Mm-hmm. And so my mom, as we were coming back, she sort of comes out on the street, and, surely when we all came back, my mom decides to confront this kid in front of like 15 kids. And so, my mom asked them, have you pushed my kids? Have you hurt my kids again? And so, and surely enough, he's very kind of boastful, and he's like, yes, I have. So my mom's like, well, you can't do that. You can't hurt my kids. You can't do that. I'd really like you. Please stop hurting my kids, right? Mm-hmm. And so, and he's kind of being very arrogant, right? So he goes to my mom. He's like, well, I'll hurt your kids whenever I want to. Right? Yeah. So my mom, who's, been up since like 3, 4 a.m. literally working very hard to put food on the table, doing so many things. My mom just snaps at this moment. Uh-huh. She takes this kid, turns him behind, and sort of spanks this kid in front of like 15 kids that he has been kind of, kind of beating up and bullying and stuff like that, right? So the kid, sort of just kind of, it was more like a pride thing, more that he couldn't do things his way anymore, and that wasn't working. And so the kid sort of cries. Like she just spanked him like 3-4 times, but she was just really just fed up of this, right?
Right.
And so this kid goes back home, and, the whole neighborhood, the whole women get on my mom's case. Like, how could she have done this? How could she just spank another person's kid? This is so wrong, and she just can't do that. So everyone, this was like this big case. Even everyone went against my mom. But my mom stood firm in her commitment that no one was going to spank her kids or just hurt her kids, and that was it. So my mom just faced like a whole lash of just everyone coming down on her, just giving her a very tough time over this scenario. But to me and my sister, this was just an awesome moment.
She was your hero. She was your hero that day, huh?
She was absolutely my hero. It just, to me, it really meant like there was just this justice in the world,
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a really neat story. But I think one of the principles there in the story is that, I know that there's a debate about the value of corporal punishment, but that young man did witness that day that he wasn't as powerful and he wasn't as special as he thought he was, and that he couldn't get away with all he thought he could get away with. And so maybe, hopefully, he learned a lesson that day. It wasn't just about a mom protecting her kids. It wasn't just about that. Kids have to come to respect some authority. When they are all so full of themselves, this is the very beginning of narcissism. When they're so full of themselves that they think they can and should be able to do whatever they want and get away with it, and they develop that sense of entitlement, and they develop that lack of care for the impact of their behavior on anybody else. So long as they feel good, doesn't really matter how anybody else is feeling. Learning that lesson that your mom wanted to teach that day, hey, wait a minute, son, you may think that in your head, but I'm here to show you that there's somebody bigger, stronger, and more capable than you right here, putting you in your place. And so what your mother did that day is not just protect her kids, but she put some high and mighty so-and-so in his place. Now, what kind of lesson he learned from that day, we may never know. Do you know, by the way, did that young man change his behavior in any way?
He has. He really, since that day, he has never touched us. He never bullied us. Yeah, he's a well-developed individual these days, that's for sure. But after that, he stopped completely bullying us.
Well, that's a great story. Thanks for sharing it with us today.
No problem. Have a great evening.
You too, and have a great Mother's Day.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye. Well, that's a wonderful story. And I'm sure there are hundreds out there of wonderful stories about moms doing their things. And really, as I said, that story was not a story about the value of corporal punishment. That was a story of a mother modeling for a young upstart too big for his britches, thinking he could just bully everybody around. We used to have these very misguided notions about bullies. For years and years and years, psychologists and other mental health professionals were telling people that the research was saying that bullies were basically insecure, frightened people underneath. They were cowards. They were self-doubting, low self-esteem individuals. And the research has demonstrated quite clearly just the opposite, that bullies are entitled so-and-sos who think far too much of themselves, and it's not a compensation for anything. And they lack shame and they lack empathy, and they're developing narcissists who feel like they can and should be able to do whatever they please and get away with it. And so long as they feel good, and so long as they feel powerful at somebody else's expense, it doesn't matter what they have to do to others to get that feeling. All that matters is that they feel powerful, that they feel strong, that they feel superior. And that's why they bully, to make them feel better than the next person. So it's a wonderful story just shared about a mom who decided to put one of those budding narcissists in their place and stem that tide that was already going, where this person has way too high an opinion of themselves, and especially way too strong an opinion about what it is they could get away with in life without negative consequence. And so in that respect, it's a wonderful story. If you've got a story you want to share about your mom, or a lesson that you learned, or a way that she was instrumental in shaping your character, the number to call is 501-258-8326. That's 501-258-8326. Or you can Skype at George K. Simon. That's GeorgeKSimon. And I'll be happy to take your call and patch you through. Well, I shared my story. We had another story shared. It's been a wonderful day. Let me tell you how my wife and I celebrated Mother's Day weekend. I took her on a trip to the Memphis area in Tennessee. Memphis has a wonderful celebration, mostly during the month of May, pretty much all through the month of May. They call Memphis in May. It's wonderful. There's lots of street art that goes on, lots of street performances that go on in the central part of the city. Beale Street is alive with music. There's barbecue everywhere. It's just one big party. There are performances by local artists in the various parks in the central part of the city. It's a wonderful time to be outdoors, just walk the streets, meet people, and have a wonderful time eating some of the best barbecue on earth and listening to some of the best rhythm and blues and jazz and rock and roll and you name it. Memphis being the heart of the blues, the heart and soul of rockabilly, the birthplace, many say, of rock and roll. What a wonderful time we had. Had a wonderful time. And this evening, we're back at our home here in the Little Rock area of Arkansas with family, enjoying the day. I'll be out myself momentarily outside around the poolside, kicking back with the grandkids and kids and just having a good old time. And letting Mom, my wife, know how much we appreciate her and how much we value the love that she's brought into this family. You know, this program is all about character mattering. And there's just simply no more influential person on the planet when it comes to shaping character in a young person than a parent. And perhaps, you know, it's really changed socioculturally, but for many, many, many years, the dominant shaper in the home was Mom. Because for many, many years, it was not that common for two people to be working. It was more common for men to be working outside the home, and it was more common for women to be homemakers. And they carried so much of the burden for everything. It was just like the caller said moments ago. And especially in wartime, when fathers were absent, they did it all. They cooked all the meals. They did all the laundry. They got the kids ready for school. They helped with the homework. They did all the shopping, all the caring, all the mending, all the doctoring. They did it all, plus providing all that guidance through it all. It's how they did it all that set the model. That set the model. And I told my story of my mom and how, in one very glaring example, she set the model. But there were so many. There were so many examples. And I'm fortunate enough, I'm just celebrating in just 2 days my 36th wedding anniversary to my beautiful wife. 36 wonderful years together. And I adopted her mother without any question as my second mom. She's no longer with us as my mom is no longer with us. But Hurley Ann, Sherry's mom, was a wonderful woman. She was not blessed with health. Unfortunately, she was not blessed with health. And she did not think she would live as long as she did. She was very fortunate to live as long as she did. She was fortunate enough to get a kidney transplant so that she could extend her lifespan far longer than she would have been able to. But what I remember most about her is her warmth and her openness. She loved people. She loved being around people. She would light up like a Christmas tree just to have people nearby. I also used to love to make her laugh. I would love to hear her laugh. She didn't have a lot of joy in her life, especially because of her health problems. Her greatest joy was her children and her grandchildren. And I remember the first time that she held her first grandchild, and you could see that love in her eyes. I remember that so very vividly. A remarkable woman. So, to both my moms, my dear sweet mom, and to my adopted mother, who I know are in a far better place today. I sure know that if anybody's in heaven, those two are. Just want to say Happy Mother's Day. Pray for us. Pray for me. Pray for all our family. Keep us safe. Help keep us safe. Help us remember all the lessons that you taught us. Pray that the world learns those same lessons. The world needs a lot of healing right now. Families especially need a lot of healing. There are so many troubled relationships and marriages, so many dysfunctional families. And it's the reason for the character crisis that we face. The stage the stage by which we rehearse all of those life lessons essential to developing good character, the platform for that, the arena in which all that's done, is the family. And boy, the guts and glue, so many times, is mom. She's the guts and glue. She's what holds it all together. Her faith, her loyalty, her commitment, her loving care, her guidance, the model that she shows for loyalty and commitment, dedication, responsibility. You know, the responsibility of a parent is an awesome responsibility. It's hard taking it on. But with loving embrace, when you do anything in love, it becomes so much easier. The burdens become so much more bearable. This is a dream I once had. It's a dream about intention, one of the 10 commandments of character that I talk about in my book, Character Disturbance, and that I'm going to be writing about in greater length in my upcoming book, The 10 Commandments of Character, How to Lead a Significant Life, is to be of sincere heart and purpose. That's one of the commandments. And by that, I mean coming from that sweet spot of your heart with right and pure intention, with loving intention, doing everything out of love, out of genuine care and concern, out of compassion, out of understanding. And in that, all things change and are new and are good. So once again, I thank you for tuning in to Character Matters. As I mentioned, I'm going to be traveling again next week, and you're welcome to drop in at any of the workshops. You can go to the vineeducation.com website or my blog at manipulative-people.com or drgeorgesimon.com. Check it out. Check out the many articles there. Check out my books, In Sheep's Clothing, Understanding and Dealing with Manipulative People, the international bestseller and go-to book on manipulative behavior, my book, Character Disturbance, The Phenomenon of Our Age, that book that explains all the various unhealthy characters you're going to encounter in your lifetime, how to understand them, how to deal with them, and especially what to look for in the way of the proper intervention to deal with the problems. My book, The Judas Syndrome for the Christian Faith Community, a book about how genuine faith can truly transform a life. And my book, How Did We End Up Here, with Kathy Armistead, the Relationship Partner Survival Guide to surviving and thriving in this character-disordered world of ours. And write me or contact me through the blog, Google on YouTube, the song you're about to hear, America My Home. If you want to perform it at Memorial Day or any other patriotic venue, we got 4th of July coming up, Flag Day. I'm happy to send you the information. And tune in again next week for another edition of Character Matters. I'm Dr. George Simon. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you again next time. Happy Mother's Day for all you mothers out there. Have a great weekend. Take care and good night.